Harper Paperbacks and Harper Audio present The Night Sparrow, a novel by Shelly Sanders. Performed by Gilli Messer. For Alia, who lifts my spirits every day. 1. Let's get ourselves into gear, stand up to the Nazis, and drive them back. Yulia Zhukova, Red Army Sniper. Zilu, Germany, April 1945. Elena Bruskina lay on her stomach, finger poised on the trigger of her rifle, though she couldn't see her own hand in the chilly darkness. It was almost 5 o'clock in the morning, and she was entrenched in the front line with the rest of her sniper's platoon, ready to attack the German Wehrmacht troops. But when more than 100 Red Army anti-aircraft searchlights suddenly beamed overhead, turning night into day, her fingers clenched the stock of her rifle in alarm. The shafts of light were supposed to temporarily blind the enemy's frontline soldiers and draw attention to their positions. Instead, the eclipsing glare boomeranged off the thick plumes of artillery smoke and dust, silhouetting Elena and her first Belarusian front comrades in sharp, bright lines. Instead of stealthy hunters, we're well-lit targets, she thought, incensed. Then, adding insult to injury, she couldn't see anything but spots. While the enemy's eyesight was enhanced, the Red Army's vision was inferior because of its own searchlights. She blinked twice to make her eyes water and felt the ground-shaking howl of Katyushas, multiple rocket launchers, bombarding the enemy's front. And mortar bombs detonating, with hazy blurs that amassed over the trails of white smoke left by the Katyushas. And Red Army ground attack Sturmovik planes squealing overhead, with air gunners opening fire at the German front line. They flew at such a low altitude, Elena's hair whooshed from the draft. She covered her ears with the collars of her greatcoat to blot out the deafening noise. It sounded like a multitude of thunderstorms, like the world was on fire. She opened her mouth to equalize the pressure on her eardrums, gaped at the flocks of birds emerging through the artillery storm, fluttering madly in all directions. Then, German anti-aircraft rounds began striking with a relentless force, decreasing the already limited visibility. Elena quivered at her stricken comrades' piercing cries. "Advance!" Lieutenant General Purkayev shouted. His usually crisp voice was barely audible, as if he was speaking through a tunnel. Elena rose slightly to a crawl position. Her hands and knees sank into the swampy ground. "Chava, where are you?" she yelled to her shooting partner, to be heard over the bullets and bombs. She felt a tap on her shoulder, turned and saw Chava's dirt-stained face. "Right behind you!" Chava shouted. They exchanged knowing looks before venturing forward into the smoky abyss. The boggy smell of mud drenched her nose, and the uneven, marshy land was hard to traverse with patches of sludge, dirty snow, and wet brown grass. In the distance, Elena heard Soviet tanks grinding through the mud. This was bad. They were supposed to be closer, the tanks and anti-tank guns, to support the infantry's offensive. "It's Kustrin all over again," Elena panicked, recalling their most recent, interminable conflict. "We're going to be here for months. We may never get past Zilu Heights. I may never see Berlin." She rubbed her inflamed eyes across the sleeve of her jacket. Beneath the fusillade of ammunition, she and Chava clambered across the mire to their platoon comrades, Zina and Raya, in a foxhole 25 meters to their right. Through a gap in the smoke, she saw a broad swath of steep hills looming in front of them. Zilu Heights. 18 versts, 20 kilometers of hills, she recalled from the map she'd committed to memory. She pictured Wehrmacht soldiers lurking in the distant peaks, standing their ground like wolves. "Be invisible." Her commander's stern voice, from sniper training, rose in her head. "This is a good spot to entrench," she called out when they'd reached Zina and Raya. Raya shook her head and cupped her hands around her square jaw. "I think we should go farther," she hollered. Elena squinted to see through the fog.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?